Good morning, friends. I usually start this video with me sitting down in front of the camera, but just the way things were situated, that's not how this particular vlog is going to start off. We're going to start off in the vehicle. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to another vlog. The vlog from last week is currently uploading, and it is an hour and 14 minutes long. I'm not upset about it, but I think that's just absolutely wild. Like, an hour and 14 minutes is a lot. It's a lot. It's a whole lot. But that's okay. It's fine. All right. So let's talk a little bit about setting expectations for this week. What do I have in store? What do I have in mind? What is happening? I typically do, let's just life update here. I typically do my meal prep on Sundays, but I have been exhausted to the point that no matter how much I sleep, I'm still tired. There is a likelihood that me and my primary care physician know what that is, what's causing that. But I have a doctor's appointment on Friday to verify what that could be. Fingers crossed. It's not like I want something to be wrong, but it would be nice to have an expectation or an explanation, not expectation, an explanation as to why that is. It was so bad on Sunday that I literally just could not, I just did not have the energy to do anything on Sunday. When we did our mommy-daughter date, like after that, I was like, I can't. I literally can't. I do not have the strength and the energy to do anything else. So I didn't do my meal prep on Sunday, so I ended up having to do it last night. Ended up having to cook dinner and do meal prep last night, which all of it was quick, so not complaining here. But in terms of reading this week, I am like fingers crossed hoping that I finish my Blackoween exploration of Ruby's Crew Park this week. I have 2 books left that are going to, I think, take or carry me through the rest of Ruby's Crew. That is, of course, The Dark 30, and then also Monstrous. I think those 2 are going to be the 2 that are going to carry me through, and so those are high priority. The thing about it is that neither one of those is available on audio, so I'm going to have to read those physically, which means that I'm going to have to probably do a lot of reading of those 2 in the evening time, as opposed to trying to read them during the daytime. I could probably do some of it. I probably will. Today I reserved my, I walk during lunch and read. I reserve that specific time during my lunch period today. I reserve that for one of my graphic novels, which I'm not going to talk about in here because I always talk about those in my other vlogs. If you're not subscribed to that channel, The Realm of Comics, shameless plug, go check it out if you want graphic novel, manga, and comic recommendations. So yeah, I'm reserving that time for that specifically today because I have that TBR for that specific channel that I need to make it through as well, and I am very close to finishing that TBR, and so that's why I really wanted to go ahead and knock some of that stuff out as well. But I think I probably will reserve some of the walking time and reading for those 2 books as well as the evening time. I don't have anything going on this evening in terms of extra patron stuff or anything like that. My daughter has gymnastics on Tuesday evenings now, so we are pretty much I'm pretty much strapped for Tuesday evenings. I used to do patron sprints on Tuesday nights, but I had to shift them because we are doing a different gymnastics class. We've moved up a level. So yeah, in terms of reading, I am just trying to work through some of the audiobooks that I have checked out on Libby. We know that Britney's Memoir comes out today. I have a backup plan if I don't get... I'm trying to hold out and see if I can snag it from my library, be first in line to snag it from my going to actually be a thing that's going to happen, but I'm hoping that it will be a thing that can happen. If not, I have an extra Audible credit, and I may just use it to listen to it that way, because I think that's going to be a long wait list for that one. So I am listening to, because this book is due back tomorrow, I'm listening to Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. This is once was a popular YA fantasy book. It's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and she's from our world and gets transported to his world. It already feels like there's going to be a love triangle, possibly. Y'all know how I feel about YA love triangles. They typically do not do me justice. They typically do not do me justice at all. Like, at all. So I don't know. We'll see what happens here. I'm not really far enough into the book to really have an opinion yet, to be honest. I'm only 2 hours and 10 minutes in, and it's very run-of-the-mill. I'm not finding anything right now that's extraordinary or that necessarily stands out about the book, but we're going to keep reading and see what happens. So that's probably going to be my primary focus today, is finishing that book, which is, of course, non-Blackoween related, and we'll see where we go from there. But that's it, y'all. Welcome to this week's vlog. And I'm hoping, like, I don't know if this vlog is going to be an hour and some change long like the other vlog, but we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening, if it is or if it isn't. I don't know. All right. Hate me, say what you want about me, but all the boys and all the girls are begging to FUCK me. All right, clearly I am clearly I've read some things, right? Okay, this is a quick check-in. It's Thursday night. I got my movement in. I had patron book club tonight, and it is 10:30 and I'm tired. I've had a migraine all day. I still feel it, like, right here. I'm finna take allergy medication, asthma medication, and I'm about to shower, crash, burn, because, you know, that's life. That's what it is. Okay, let's do a quick update of what I have read recently. So I have a couple of things to point out that I have finished. I am still making my way through Monstrous, which I don't know where my copy is. It's somewhere in this house, but I'm not sure where. But it's here. Trust me, it's here. I just don't know where it is. So I am reading Monstrous. I'm about 100 pages into it. It is a 400-page book, so I'm trying to finish that this week. Hopefully finish that this week. I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't want to spoil it, but the premise of Monstrous is essentially that we have a main character, Latavia, who is staying with her aunt during the summer before she goes to UGA to run track. And so her aunt gives her these specific rules in which, like, she's not supposed to, what does she say? Like, she's not supposed to go outside. I mean, she's not supposed to go into the woods. She's not supposed to go outside after dark. And I think she's supposed to come home right after church. And so she's having difficulty figuring out, like, why these rules are set up, and she doesn't understand why these rules are set up. And then the town is just really, really strange, and then they take her to be sacrificed to this monster. So her intuition about it was absolutely right. So I am past the sacrificial part. It's really good. It's a quick read. I'm really enjoying Jessica Lewis's writing style. So that's something that I'm currently reading for Blackoween. Remember, my last 2 reads for Blackoween are both physical reads. So there's that. I finished 2 picture books. I finished 1 beginner reader and 1 nonfiction picture book. So the nonfiction picture book was Stand as Tall as the Trees, How an Amazonian Community Protected the Rainforest. And this was really, really good. I think I gave this 5 stars. Yeah, I did give this 5 stars. With Nonfiction November coming up next week, and I think I may still keep vlogging. Y'all, let me tell you something. I am past the point of wanting to do anything for views on my channel. If something gets views, it gets views. If it does, it doesn't. I just can't. I have so much going on in my life, and I think that there's so much going on in the world that I think sometimes when you see certain things or you experience certain things, it changes your perspective. And I know that this is something that I have been battling with for a long time, and this is a huge segue because probably half of you don't even care about this, but I just want to do what I want to do at this point. I know that I will not be rewarded for it. I know that YouTube is not going to like it. I know that in terms of viewership, there are some people who are not going to like it, but I have to live for me at this point. I'm getting older and life is really too daggone short. And so I think that I'm going to keep vlogging. And I think that part of me it's been difficult because I do have a very complicated schedule, but I think also part of it has been like my vlogs just don't perform well. And you know what? Who cares? Who cares? I just can't. I don't care anymore, y'all. I don't care anymore. It's too much to stress over. It is too much to think about. It is too much trying to figure out what video is going to be successful and get the most clicks. It's too tiring and exhausting, and I'm not doing this for the rest of my life. I don't get a 401k from this. I'm not putting into retirement for this. This is good extra money on the side, but you know what? It's not forever. And so with the time I have left, I want to fucking have fun. And I'm having fun vlogging right now. And when I don't have fun vlogging anymore, I'm gonna stop. And I'm just gonna do whatever the hell I want to do until I'm done with this channel. And that time is coming up within the next couple of years. I want to go out with a bang and enjoy myself. So here we are. Anyway, so this is a great pick after that long segue. This is a great pick if you are looking for some things to pick up for Nonfiction November, specifically like in children's lit. It is a book that follows the main character by the name of Patty, who is part, I want to make sure I get this right, of the Quechua community that is in Ecuador, and they live in the Amazon forest. And so she leaves to go to school in the city, and then there's an oil company that is that comes and they start drilling, and they ask her to come back home to help protect the forest. So it's about, you know, conservation and also land rights of indigenous and native communities. And I love that we got both of that. And her community was successful because they collaborated with the Inter-American Court of Human Rights in Costa Rica. And I love that the authors explored land rights as it applies to indigenous communities all over the globe. And it was just really, really good information. It was super, super resourceful, and I definitely recommend checking that one out. I then read, like I said, the Beginner Reader, which was Cat versus Vac. It's funny because I think about, like, I don't have pets, I'm allergic, and so it's just, my kid is allergic, it's just not a thing that will happen. But I think about like how animals feel about vacuum cleaners. I also think about like how like smaller kids react to vacuum cleaners. It's like this big thing. It's intimidating, it's frightening. And so the owners ordered this vacuum cleaner that's a complete ass, right? And so the animals essentially like have to team up to push back against a vacuum cleaner. It's written in a rhyming scheme, which I think is really accessible for kids who are learning how to read. They say that learning what words rhyme does help build better reading skills. So if you're looking for beginner readers like that, that's definitely one to check out. Get that one 4 stars. I thought it was hilarious too, and the artwork was very much so like comic book style. Y'all know that was a vibe for me. You know that was a complete vibe for me. Other things that I have finished lately. I know I said I was reading A Curse So Dark and Lovely. I did end up finishing that. 3 stars, y'all, because at this point, I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I did put the second book on hold because I am interested in learning more about what happened with the characters. But outside of that, I'm not completely like, you know, like it's not, it wasn't anything like mind-blowing. It is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And she, I think I talked about this a little bit before, she is kidnapped essentially from DC and brought to this magical land, which I can't remember the name of. And the prince is the beast, but it's kind of a variation on the beast and the curse. And he has a, you know, a loyal friend is kind of a loose term here, but a loyal comrade who is assisting him and finding the a woman who would break the curse for him. And literally, I mean, it was so bland in terms of like the world building, because it very much so was almost like, you know, very much so not line for line, but it read very close to Beauty and the Beast. The idea of it almost felt too on the nose for Beauty and the Beast, and I wasn't invested in any of the characters 100%. To be honest, I think that I did appreciate that our heroine, and I don't want to give this away, but it doesn't end in the way that Beauty and the Beast does, where she falls in love. I think that giving her the authority or the ownership to be like, I don't like, I don't know if I'm in love with you like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like you can grow and care for someone, but I think it's a huge thing to recognize when you're in love with somebody. So I did appreciate that, and the ending was very, very interesting. So that's why I was like, you know, I'll put the second one on hold. But in terms of excitement while reading that, I do feel like the story overall was just a tad bit lackluster and not super engaging. I thought the pacing was pretty steady, but in terms of investment in characters, investment in like how things were going to turn out, it was just like, I'm reading it, it's there. It's kind of one of those things where I had nothing else to read, so I'm picking this book up and see where it goes. I did read Britney's memoir, and that was heartbreaking. I grew up in the era of Britney, you know, the late 90s, early 2000s. That was my era where I grew up listening to Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, 98 Degrees, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, like that whole era of pop music. I was, you know, I was a kid and a teenager during that time. So a lot of like things about her I was familiar with when she was younger, but I had lost, I don't want to say lost track of, but I didn't really keep up with Britney as I got older. And so I knew some of the things that were going on with her, but I did not know the intensity of what she was experiencing behind closed doors, especially with the situation with her dad. I mean, the fact that she's still so positive about life post dealing with that situation and everything, the way that the media treated her. I already had my issues with Justin Timberlake, y'all. He has done some things that, and not just about Britney, not just about Janet, but he moves in a way that like I'm not a fan of, especially his dibbling and dabbling in Black culture. And then it's kind of like the Miley effect, where we dibble and dabble in Black culture when it benefits us, but when we're done we drop it, you know what I'm saying? And I don't like that. And so I already am not, you know, a big Justin person. I mean, I don't know the man personally, so that. It doesn't matter if I like him or don't like him. But character wise, I just would never like a vibe for me 100%. And so hearing some things that he did in relationship to Britney it's kind of like sealed the deal and put the icing on the cake. Like, I felt very validated knowing that I did not think he was that great of a person and his behavior. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, you know, well, he's gotten, you know, he's moved on, he's gotten older, he's married, he has his kids, why can't Britney? But when you traumatize a person like that, when you abuse a person like that, you do not get to dictate how they process those feelings. And I don't care if they process it as soon as it happens or if it takes them 20 years to process that. You don't get to dictate that. And he broke her. I think personally, I think he broke her. And she has every right to talk about it. And she has stated that she holds no bad energy towards those things in the past, but you know, it's her story to tell. And I don't know what this is in our culture where we want to silence people from being able to tell their stories because we want them to tell their stories when we think it's time or how we see fit. And you can't do that. So it doesn't matter if she waited 20 years to detail what happened between her and Justin. She took some serious L's for Justin, mind you, and kept a lot of things hidden behind Justin. And so if it's her turn to discuss it and to explore her feelings about it, then she can daggone do so. And so yeah, there's going to be some accountability on his end, and yes, it is going to be embarrassing on his end, but I think that it's fair for her to be able to inevitably tell her story. And so there's that. I just think that the media and press, her family, I just feel like she had no one in this world, which is why I think she clung so heavily to her fans, because those are the people that stood by her through all of this. And you know, she's living her life right now. People are like, oh, well, you know, how she acts on Instagram, and like, no, because she's a human being, y'all. And Britney has said, like, she's like, I know I can be weird, but I just, when you've been told how to live your life for so long, when your sexuality, your way to express yourself has been contained by people for so long, you're gonna want to do what you want to do, because it's your freedom to be able to. So however we may perceive her behavior, like, she's an adult and she's finally getting a chance to live her life on her terms, and you can't dictate that. You can't look at a 30-second clip of someone and say, oh, there's something wrong with them. You don't know that, because there are people that you look at every day of 30-second clips and you think, oh, their life is amazing, and really it's not. Like, these snippets that we get of people in the media, and even with us as booktubers, content creators, like, you don't know someone's entire life. I don't care if I'm vlogging my life throughout the week. You don't really know what's happening in my life. You only know what I'm allowing you to show, and then what you think you know is based off of the perceptions of the clips that I'm giving you. And so I don't understand how people can take 30-second clips of her and be like, oh, there's something wrong with her, she should have never been released from her conservatorship, and she doesn't know how to handle her life. And it's like, from a 30-second clip though, y'all, how could you determine that? How could you make that judgment call that she can't handle herself based off of what you see on social media and the internet? It's an interesting age that we live in. I still haven't written my review for that one. I don't know if I'm going to rate it. I think I may leave it unrated, but good for her for telling her story. Good for her. And I know that was not easy for her to do, and I am heartbroken on her behalf for all of the pain that she has gone through. But, you know, very proud of her for coming out on the other side and still being such a strong and loving and caring person, even though she's her trust. You know, I get that. Let me tell you something. I understand what it's like to get to a point where it's like, I don't trust people. Like, I just don't. When you've gone through that much, when you go through so many traumatic situations where you put trust and love into people, and like, I think about her situation with Kevin Federline, like, when you have these expectations and you love and you trust freely people ruin that, and people don't understand that the world can turn you into a cold, hard person, which is, I say the same thing about Jada. The world can change you into a person that you weren't before. And, you know, some people have the luxury of never experiencing that, but for those people who have experienced it, it's tough. It's tough because you're always guarded. You always have your guard up. You don't trust anyone around you. And a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people perceive that as whatever they want to perceive it, which is usually never positive. But yeah, I probably won't rate it, but I did enjoy my read of it. As much as one can enjoy hearing a story that is that difficult. I think that's it, y'all. Excuse me, I'm tired. I have an hour left of The Elephant in the Room by Holly Goldberg Sloan. I'm hating this book. I'm sorry. I don't like it, y'all. I don't like it. I don't like it. So I think I'll probably finish that up. I have a 24-hour readathon for our patrons this weekend. It's fun. We just get together and hang out for 24 hours and read as much as we can read. So I probably will try to get some done. I have a doctor's appointment in the morning. I have some testing that needs to be done. I got test results back, and now I have to go through a second round of testing to figure out an issue that I may have. And so we're going to go from there. But other than that, y'all, I'm going to check in with y'all later. I need to shower. I feel so gross. I need to shower. All right. I'm exhausted. I feel like every time I get on here, I'm like, I'm exhausted, I'm exhausted, I'm exhausted, I'm exhausted. But no, your girl is really extremely tired. But I did want to hop in here and do an update because tomorrow is going to be the last, like, maybe like 1 or 2 clips before I start making sure that this is uploaded and ready to go for the week. And I have been doing great, except not necessarily physical reading, which bummer, but it is what it is. So I'm gonna scroll down my Goodreads and give you an idea of what I finished. So prior to this, I did talk about finishing A Curse So Dark and Lonely, which is the first book in the Curse Breakers trilogy by Bridget Kimmerer. I did talk about finishing The Woman in Me by Britney Spears, and I have read, I think, 3 other things since then. Oh, and I talked about 2 children's books that I had read, but there's 3 more things that I wanted to talk about quickly before I get into some Blackoween updates. So I ended up finishing The Elephant in the Room by Holly Goldberg Sloan. I have been reading this one for a little over a week now. I think I did a major update on this one last vlog, and I am here to say that I finished it this vlog. I try to be very fair with my assessments of children's lit because I am not the target audience, and I know that sometimes the content is not meant for me, and I have to be careful how I go in reading children related content from an adult lens. This book was just not good, y'all. I thought that maybe I could see kind of like a glimmer of hope at the end of the book, and it just didn't happen. So just as a refresher for some people who maybe didn't watch the last vlog that I posted, this is about a young girl whose mother has been deported because of some inaccuracies with her immigration paperwork, and they're from Turkey. And at the start of this book, she has been gone for, I think, over a year at this point, or at least close to a year. And so it's just a little girl and her dad, and they are trying to make things work from day to day. Her dad is the mechanic, and she used to have a lot of friends at school, but she's become kind of a loner, just dealing with the stress of the situation with her mother. Understandable. This book is so convenient that it takes away from the realism of this book. And I'm not saying that books should not have a glimmer of hope, because I do think that they should have a glimmer of hope. It's very nice that books have that. They don't all need to be depressing, but this was so overly compensating for creating a perfect storyline that the idea of it being realistic just kind of went out the door. So the young girl ends up meeting a guy who we are introduced to because her dad goes to fix his truck, and then you find out there's a connection between these two. He finds out that her mother's is not present, and so he feels bad for her. He finds out that she likes elephants, and he just happened to win the lottery, and because he just happened to win the lottery, he bought this huge like acreage of land. And then they randomly just go to a donut place in the morning, and he just happens to pay for everyone, and one of the people that he happens to pay for is an old circus person who has an elephant and a bear, and he's just like, oh, convenient, because this little girl loves elephants, and so he just buys an elephant, which works out because he just has all this land. And even the situation with her mom, how that plays out, it's just kind of like, honey, like, I understand being hopeful and creating like this thing of, you know, no matter what, we should always have hope, but there's a difference between creating hope in a realistic way than setting kids up for false expectations. And this is one of those things where I was like, okay, this is kind of a false expectation thing, because this is not really what happens in the real world. Things do not work out this perfectly. And then the writing style also threw me. This one was written third person narrative for every character. Every character. I did not need the perspective of the elephant. Like, I didn't. Like, I did. The elephant was not not even a major nor minor character. So why do I need the third person narrative of the elephant? I don't. Of every single character, it was too much. I yeah, I wasn't a huge fan. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I wasn't that. This was not my personal cup of tea, and so I'm probably gonna give that 3 stars because it is a children's book, and I typically do not drop below a 3. But if I wanted to be kind of aggressive about it, it would be like more like a 2-star reading. But I'm not gonna do that because I feel like, you know, that's just not my MO. I just don't do that stuff. I also, although I marked my update wrong, weird of me, I ended up finishing Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library. This is the first book in the Mr. Lemoncello's Library series. This is by Chris Grabenstein, and I very familiar with the series. I just never read it. This is an older middle grade series. This came out, I think, originally in like 2013. The first book did. And it's about these group of kids who end up having the opportunity to write a letter to this game master. He's very famous for the games that he creates. And there's a library that's put in their town. They haven't had a library in a very, very long time. And he invites them to participate in this challenge that he has going on at the library, but you have to write an essay. And so all these kids go. It's very Wonka-esque. I talked about this in one of my vlogs for this month. I can't remember which one, but it's very Wonka-esque. But the twist to this is that when they get to the library, they end up stuck in the library, and the point of the game is to figure out how to get out of the library, but all of the clues are associated with books. So there are so many Easter eggs of so many popular children's YA and adult books, and I love that element. The librarian and me geeked out, y'all. I geeked out. It was ridiculous. From the hints where like they had to use the Dewey Decimal System to figure out stuff. It was, oh my gosh. I haven't enjoyed a kind of like a mystery adventure type of story like that for a long time. It was a very, very easy read, quick read, definitely well paced, addresses some interesting themes about friendship and bullying and doing the right thing, and also understanding the importance of a library and encouraging kids to read and how reading is beneficial. And I'm just like, every time like these hints drop from like classic children's lit to, you know, very famous classic Black writers, like just it was so good. This was really, really good, and I cannot find any fault with it to drop it below 5 stars, to be honest with you. I can't. I think that it does touch on some literature. There's some emphasis on some books that now I think people are hesitant to pick up due to some ethereal decision-making things. And I'm specifically talking about the Harry Potter series, but I think in the time that this was written, I loved it. And so I ended up actually starting the second book, which is, let me look it up because I can never remember the name of it. I started reading Mr. Lemoncello's Library Olympics, which is dealing a little bit with the idea of censorship. Which perfect time, because listen, we're talking about book bans and book challenges all the time. And listen, that fits perfectly. And there already was a mention of like the AOA Office of Intellectual Freedom and the right to read. And I was like, oh gosh, this book was published in 2016. And like, what a way to be related to everything that's currently going on. So there's actually 5 books in the series. I still would have to read Mr. Lemoncello's Great Library Race, Mr. Lemoncello's All-Star Breakout Game, and then the 5th book is Mr. Lemoncello and the Titanium Ticket. But there is a prequel that came out last year, which is called Mr. Lemoncello's Very First Game. So I'm excited to continue on with this series. I'm enjoying it. It was a random pick one day, and I was like, I'm just going to read this, and I'm happy that I did. I also ended up reading a very, very random Halloween Black romance. I don't know, I just got in a mood because Halloween's in a couple of days, and I'm like, I really want to read some Black romance that's Halloween related. And so I picked up Tricked, a Halloween love story, and this is by Kiate. I'm sure I'm pronouncing their name wrong. And it literally was a random KU read. There's content warnings on this one for alcoholism, violence, loss of loved ones, and grief. And I randomly came across this one and I checked it out. It's short. It's only about 70 odd pages, and it follows the main character by the name of Hope, who's just lost her parents as she moves from Georgia to Tennessee, and she buys this house. And when she gets to the house, well, when she's moving into the house, she meets this guy named Trix, and they end up having this instantaneous connection with each other, like super instantaneous connection with each other. And hold on, I'm stopping this. They want it to create an auto highlight and I don't want it to do that. I hate that it keeps doing that. But they end up having this instantaneous connection and they're getting along great. And then she notices like there's some weird things that are happening in her house, and it appears that it might be haunted in some ways. But I can't say much beyond that because there's a couple of twists to this one that I found interesting. I think one of them I did see coming, but I was very interested in how the author was going to execute said twist. This is an interesting one thematically because I think that it is not only just about the romance, but it is an expectation or an exploration of grief, and how grief impacts us and what people do when they lose loved ones, and that at some point you have to not let it go, but heal and process that loss and continue to live life, and not to forget or neglect or doubt the pain that you feel from that loss, but understand that you have to continue on living. And it's true for both of the characters, for both Trix and Halo. I never said her name. It's true for both of them, and I like the way that the author did that. And the ending was just a slight emotional. I'm not gonna lie, it tugged at my heart a little bit. I found myself like, oh, this is actually quite sad. This is really sad. But I enjoyed it. I ended up giving it 4 stars, and I enjoyed it so much I did not realize that this actually was a duology. I didn't know that. I just went to the author's page because there are 2 other Halloween books from this author that I want to read, and one is Deja Vu, All Hallows Eve, and then the Castleton Sisters, which I had heard people talk about the Castleton Sisters, and I knew that that was one that I wanted to read because I heard that that gives kind of like Charmed vibes. And then I looked and I was like, oh, so this has a part 2, which is Tricked, The Awakening. So that is the second book, which I immediately added to my Kindle, and I may read tonight. I don't know. I am very, very tired, so there's that. This week, it's going to be pretty busy for me, and I will be covering a lot of that in my next vlog because it is Halloween. I am taking my kiddo trick-or-treating. I am helping with her school's trunk or treat. I am meeting 2 authors this week. I am having dinner with one and just meeting another one, and it's a lot of stuff going on, so it's okay, it's fine. You won't see any of that stuff in this vlog because it just won't be in this vlog, but it will be in next week's vlog, so stay tuned for that. But I did want to do a quick check-in before I started to, you know, I already started editing this vlog, but before I begin to like really truly wrap things up, I do want to say that I am still trying to slowly move through Monstrous. I have gotta book it, y'all. I have until the 31st to read this book, and I don't know if I'm going to make it, but even if I don't make it for the 31st, I do want to read it. I also have a book that I want to read before I meet the author on Wednesday. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing. It's a lot, but we're gonna get it done. I think I'm going to go get ready for bed. I already laid out clothes for tomorrow for work, and we're just gonna go ahead and wrap things up here. So yeah, I will do probably another quick check-in in the morning, and then a final clip, and then this vlog will be ready to go. Bye. Mind you, I haven't done an update all day today. No final clip, no nothing, because it's been a long day. busy day for me. It's been such a busy day. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, well, I just want to let you know I haven't read anything. So there's that. So there's really nothing to update y'all on because I haven't read anything. And this week, that dog, oh my gosh. And this week is going to be even more chaotic because it is the week of Halloween and I just have a lot going on. So yeah, this is a sorry update, but let me know in the comments below, y'all, what you ended up reading this week. How are you doing for Blackoween? How did you do for Blackoween? And I will check in with y'all. I'm still going to be vlogging, so expect another vlog next week. But let me know in the comment box below, like I said, what you've been reading, how you've been doing with Blackoween, and I will talk to y'all in the coming days. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you want to see more content from me. Hit the bell for notifications if you're looking for ways to follow me on social media or support the channel. All the links be down in the description box below, and I will be back with another video soon. Bye.
I'm on my own, broken and alone. I feel the rain crashing down.